Good day, everyone. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic that lies at the core of our moral compass: the three senses of the self. Understanding these perspectives on the self is essential for navigating the complexities of our moral decision-making. How we perceive ourselves greatly influences the way we judge right and wrong. So, let's take a deep dive into each of these concepts and explore their impact on our daily lives. Subjectivism. I am my own moral authority. Let's begin with subjectivism, a view that places the individual, the thinking, feeling person, at the center of moral decision-making. According to subjectivism, we are the ultimate authority when it comes to deciding what is right or wrong. Moral judgments are subjective, meaning they are based on personal experience, values, and feelings. Think of it this way. When faced with a tough decision, subjectivism says that only you can determine the correct course of action because you understand your situation better than anyone else. Here are a few familiar phrases that represent the spirit of subjectivism. No one can tell me what's right or wrong. I know my situation better than anyone else. I'm entitled to my own opinions. It's good if I say it's good. At first glance, these statements seem to celebrate independence and personal freedom. Subjectivism empowers us to trust our own judgment. But there's a potential downside. By focusing solely on our own perspective, we may overlook the rich insights others can offer. Human experiences are often shared, and consulting with family, friends, or even mentors can provide guidance we might not have considered. If we isolate ourselves in our own subjective views, we risk becoming blind to wisdom that could help us make better choices. Let's imagine a scenario. Someone is wrestling with a moral dilemma, like deciding whether to forgive someone who hurt them. If they rely purely on their own feelings, they may choose not to forgive. But if they consider others' perspectives, perhaps those of friends who have experienced similar situations, they might see the benefits of forgiveness in a new light. So while subjectivism empowers us to take ownership of our decisions, it also reminds us of the importance of listening to others. Psychological egoism. Self-interest drives all. Next up is psychological egoism, a theory that suggests all human actions are driven by self-interest. According to this theory, everything we do, whether it's watching a movie, donating to charity, or working hard for a promotion, ultimately serves our own welfare. Even acts that seem selfless are, at their core, motivated by personal gain. Let's pause and think about this. What about kindness and generosity? If psychological egoism holds true, then even the most altruistic actions are really just about making ourselves feel good. For instance, a person who donates to charity might seem to be acting out of compassion. But psychological egoism would argue that deep down, they're donating because it makes them feel better about themselves or boosts their social standing. This can paint a somewhat bleak picture of human nature, where even our most noble actions are seen as selfish. Is it really true that every good deed we do is motivated by self-interest? It's an interesting idea to explore. Psychological egoism challenges us to question the motives behind our actions, but it also risks reducing complex human behaviors into something overly simplistic. Is it possible that we sometimes act purely out of kindness or empathy, without expecting anything in return? Or is there always a self-serving reason behind it all? Ethical egoism. Pursue your own good, but mind others. Lastly, we have ethical egoism, which offers a nuanced take on the idea of self-interest. Unlike psychological egoism, which claims all our actions are driven by self-interest, ethical egoism suggests that we ought to prioritize our own goals and well-being. According to this view, we should strive to pursue what is good for ourselves, but we can also consider how our actions affect others. Ethical egoism doesn't necessarily mean ignoring others. It simply means that we should help others only when it aligns with our own interests. For example, if helping someone else will also benefit you in some way, then it's the right thing to do. But if helping someone would harm your own well-being, ethical egoism would suggest it's better to prioritize yourself. Socrates, the famous Greek philosopher, had an interesting critique of this theory. He believed that ethical egoism could lead to unjust behavior. If we only focus on our own self-interest, we might lose sight of fairness and justice. Consider a business owner who exploits their employees by underpaying them. The business owner may justify this by saying, "It benefits me to pay less, so it's the right thing to do." But Socrates would argue that this behavior is unjust, even if it serves the business owner's self-interest. Balancing self-interest with ethical responsibility is key. We all have personal goals and desires, but a just society requires us to temper those desires with empathy, fairness, and consideration for others. Conclusion: finding balance in our moral decisions. To wrap things up, the three senses of the self, subjectivism, psychological egoism, and ethical egoism, each offer unique insights into how we make moral decisions. Subjectivism empowers us to trust our individual perspective, but it also reminds us of the importance of staying connected to others. Psychological egoism challenges us to reflect on the true motivations behind our actions, but it risks painting an overly cynical view of human nature. Ethical egoism, on the other hand, strikes a balance by encouraging us to pursue our own good while also considering how our actions impact others. As we reflect on our own moral choices, it's important to find harmony between our personal desires and the well-being of those around us. Whether it's seeking advice from others, questioning the deeper motives behind our actions, or balancing self-interest with fairness, understanding these different senses of the self can help us navigate the complex world of moral decision-making. Thank you for your attention today, and I hope this exploration of the self inspires thoughtful reflection on how we approach our moral lives.